Today we're getting into the latest tech, EV, and Tesla news, including Tesla finally adding CarPlay, big Tesla lease price drops, Waymo hitting freeways, Apple's surprise CEO shakeup, and more, so let's get into it. First up today, some very big news in the past few days is that Tesla is reportedly planning to add Apple CarPlay support in the coming months. This comes according to a report from Mark Gurman in his Power On newsletter, and he's usually pretty spot on with Apple rumors and details, so this one seems pretty likely. The support here will be for the standard wireless version of CarPlay, and not for the more advanced CarPlay Ultra. CarPlay ultimately would appear within a window inside of Tesla's broader infotainment interface, rather than replacing any part of the UI. So essentially it would just be another app, just like you have music or anything on your screen. So far, Tesla has very much resisted implementing CarPlay, despite many drivers requesting it, so this would be a notable shift for them. I know that for many people and many Tesla owners, they just get used to not having this, or they really don't mind it. But there are still a lot of customers out there who say, I want to go from one car to the next and still have my CarPlay support. I don't want to have to learn a new interface, even if long-term maybe it's a little more integrated. Some Tesla owners here are speculating that the timing of this CarPlay move is very strategic on their part because of the loss of the US federal EV tax credit. They really need to do everything they can to help boost sales right now, and this, believe it or not, could be one of those things. I mean, one of the big things that they did recently was add back the turn signal stock into the Model Y instead of removing it there, and then they added it back into the Model 3. Because customers simply did not want to take that sacrifice when they're driving in a Tesla vehicle. The buttons just aren't as easy as a turn signal stock, and it was legitimately preventing sales, it seems. One customer said here, it's needed for sales because for many prospective buyers, CarPlay is a non-negotiable must-have. If they knew how good the Tesla UI is, they wouldn't think they need CarPlay. I think in general I do agree with that because once you get used to it, it's very good. But there are still apps that you can use in CarPlay and have integrated right onto your normal center screen that people in Tesla vehicles will want to use. I think Waze is one of those apps especially that people will oftentimes have operating next to their screen on a mount for their phone. Here they'd be able to actually use this on screen within a CarPlay window. And I know there would be times that I'd probably actually use CarPlay, even though maybe I'm using maps or music integrated within my Tesla vehicle. There are always limitations to those apps. For instance, in Tidal, you still can't shuffle a playlist, and it still doesn't have gapless playback. These are some very obvious features that this should have, and it doesn't, but if you just integrate it with your phone through CarPlay, it will actually have that. Now it will change things because it's streaming from your phone instead of offline downloading to Tidal, which is one of the advantages there. And that's just a very specific use case, but there are plenty of apps that people will want to have on screen through CarPlay or Android Auto if they add that in the future. The hope here, of course, is that this helps to attract more Tesla buyers because maybe they previously wouldn't go for it because they just love CarPlay. This is one of those funny things though, because for years you have all these big Tesla fans that say CarPlay is not needed at all. It's genius that Tesla has not added support, and now that it's rumored they may be adding it, they're saying, wow, it's genius that Tesla may be adding this support. In any case, at the end of October, Tesla was hyping up increased lease prices coming November 4th. Those came, but just for a couple of days, and then they immediately dropped them. Now they have dropped them even further by keeping the same lease price, but making them $0 down. Previously, it was $3,000 down. So the Model 3 has stayed the same, and that starts at $329 per month with $3,000 down. But the Model Y Premium rear-wheel drive starts at $479 a month with $0 down. In actuality, this is still $1,175 due at delivery, but if we add $3,000 on top of that, we can see the price drop down to $386 per month. That's a pretty substantial drop from $479. So that's essentially how much cheaper it has gotten here if you were to keep that down payment the same. And this is an even better deal than what they raised it from just last month. On top of that, you still get one free upgrade option. You can upgrade paint, wheels, or interior, any one of those for no extra cost. So it's really a much better deal than they've had in recent months, at least since the tax credit went away. But back to $0 down, when you include taxes and fees there, that does become closer to $3,000 that you still do have to actually pay at delivery. It's just $0 down specifically to the lease. So that's definitely worth noting, since you'll still be responsible for that cost out the door, but it seems that these lease prices have gotten even cheaper. As I always try to point out in these videos, there's always another deal around the corner, even when one is ending. So it's really tough to time a Tesla purchase in general, but basically, if you need a car now, it's usually a good time. Next up today, on the more personal side of things, many may not know that I'm a drummer that specializes in jazz. Lately, I've been recording or playing with Seth MacFarlane, Leve, and many other jazz artists, so I finally started my own jazz channel called Sessions with Shaw. My goal here is to create a classic jazz show feel, like one from the 60s, with live music recorded all in the same room and interviews with the guests. We've had some pretty incredible guests so far and have lots more to come, so I hope that you'll check it out. The channel and the episode featuring the legendary Joel Fromm are linked in the description below. Next up today, Tesla is reportedly directing its suppliers to exclude China-made components for vehicles that are built in the US. The company and its supplier network have already replaced a lot of Chinese-sourced parts, with the goal of fully shifting to non-Chinese components within about 1 to 2 years. This move is, of course, driven by geopolitical tensions, fluctuating tariffs between the US and China, and the desire to reduce supply chain risk as a whole. Tesla has already been increasing North American sourcing for its US plant over the past 2 years, but here it looks like Tesla is trying to make it 100% Chinese-free. For Tesla's US manufactured vehicles, this could mean a significant shift in component sourcing, potentially affecting the cost, supply logistics, and vendor relationships as a whole. This strategy does align with broader industry efforts. For instance, GM has also told suppliers to remove Chinese-made parts, and it's all coming as a result of trade and geopolitical risks. Overall, I think in the US, this is something people will be excited to hear. For consumers and investors, it suggests that Tesla is preparing for a vehicle that is not at all Chinese dependent. But of course, it will have implications for pricing, manufacturing location decisions, and their global strategy as a whole. We know that right now in the US, they're not using Chinese batteries, but I was hoping that sometime soon we could get an LFP battery coming from China if tariffs had some sort of exemption there, but it looks like we're not going to, and instead we're going to be moving entirely away from any Chinese-made parts in Tesla vehicles. In the interim, we might see a little bit of a price increase to make that happen, but of course, those tariffs have affected pricing as a whole anyway, so maybe long-term this can be something that actually brings down cost. Next up today, if you're in the market for a Tesla, they have updated the referral program with new FSD-focused incentives for Model 3 and Model Y. Buyers using a referral link now get 3 months of FSD free or $500 off if they purchase FSD. So if you're already planning to purchase FSD, definitely use a referral link because this will make it cost $7,500. You get $500 off of your full purchase. For the Model S, X, and Cybertruck, you still get $1,000 off there instead. Then eligible groups like students, teachers, first responders, and military can stack an extra $1,000 discount on top of this. For those referring, you'll earn $500 if the buyer purchases FSD, and then you'll earn $250 if they don't. So it's definitely both incentivizing buyers to get FSD and then refers to encourage people to actually check out FSD. The other element there is that owners can now earn $15 when a friend completes an FSD demo drive. This is capped at 30 demo drives per account, so a total of $450 that you can earn there. Again, this is another push for people to encourage people to go try full self-driving. I think this makes a lot of sense because Tesla keeps talking about how incredible this technology is, but also how few people actually know it's good. I think they kind of did this to themselves a little bit by promising FSD for almost a decade at this point. We can look back to 2017 when Elon Musk was saying their cars would be fully autonomous within a year or two. And so when you've been hearing these promises and not seeing them come to fruition for this long, and you're not directly owning the car and using this all of the time, you kind of think that they're always just saying the same thing and nothing has changed. But obviously the latest versions of FSD are far better than they were years ago. I'm personally curious to see how this goes and if it actually leads to more FSD adoption or not. Next up today, for Tesla's Supercharger network, they've expanded their dynamic live pricing pilot to 550 plus Supercharger sites. Their post says, quote, live pricing expanded to an additional 550 sites in California, New Jersey, New York, Florida, and Illinois. Currently, the average price remains the same, peak prices are unchanged, and will be paid by fewer sessions. We'll keep iterating on getting it right based on impact and customer feedback. This pricing model uses real-time data on site usage and congestion, rather than just a time-of-day prediction, to adjust rates. So when a station is busy, prices go up, and when it's less busy, prices may go down. Tesla emphasizes that this is meant for load balancing and improved station availability, not simply raising prices. Again, average pricing should remain the same, but it will be interesting to see because in those times when you do have to charge on peak, you may be paying quite a high cost. As always, Tesla is optimizing and expanding this network, and it's interesting to see. We'll see if this succeeds to encourage people to charge off-peak more frequently, or if it just ends up with people feeling like they're paying more for supercharging. Next up today, for Tesla's full self-driving package, version 14.1.7 has launched to all Cybertruck owners. I have it on my Cybertruck and I've used it, and overall it has been great. It drove me from home to the store and then parked at the store for me. So this was the first time in a Cybertruck that you could click Start FSD from park, and then it was the first time that it would go find a spot for me and then park. This is also rolling out to other cars, but one interesting thing about the Cybertruck is it was raining fairly heavily in California yesterday when I was driving using it. And I got into the store, and then I wanted to summon my car to me at the front, but the Cybertruck still does not have that capability. I think that this may be something that never arrives on this car, even though they've promised it from the beginning. I hope that it does someday soon. Now, of course, a big part of full self-driving beyond the convenience is safety, and Tesla has finally released specific FSD safety numbers. Previously, they released these safety numbers regarding general autopilot, and I was always waiting for the day when they would specifically break this down for FSD, since FSD does city driving, where a lot of accidents typically occur. Tesla details, at the time of filming this, that they have over 6.4 billion miles driven, and then they specify over 2.2 billion city miles driven and counting. Quote, FSD supervised enables your vehicle to drive you almost anywhere with your active supervision, requiring minimal intervention. When engaged and under your active supervision, your likelihood of being in a collision goes down. They note 7 times fewer major collisions, 7 times fewer minor collisions, and 5 times fewer off-highway collisions. These are, quote, compared to the estimated US average. You can see the breakdown of miles driven before a collision here as well. And then they say that they estimate 32,000 lives could potentially be saved per year thanks to this technology, along with over 1.9 million injuries avoided. Some stats here definitely showcase why people are so invested in this technology long term, not just from Tesla, but from many companies. 30% of fatalities in 2023 in the US were from drunk driving, according to NHTSA. 44% of vehicle occupant fatalities were not wearing a seatbelt, and then 29% were speeding. Then in general, 29% of collisions in 2023 were from distracted driving. So Tesla is clearly trying to lay out the case that this technology eliminates those cases and massively improves safety long term. They also have a compilation on this page of FSD responding to various scenarios on the road that you may face. Oncoming cars in the wrong lane, animals in the road, cars cutting in, and more. Obviously, FSD responded quite well in these scenarios, and these are typically the scenarios that people think these systems can't really handle. Now, speaking of Tesla's competition, Waymo is expanding its autonomous ride-hailing service to include freeway driving for public riders in the Bay Area. This is from San Francisco down to San Jose, as well as Phoenix and Los Angeles. This expansion is built on millions of miles of prior freeway testing with employees and invited guests and close coordination with safety officials. So it's not yet everywhere, but riders can sign up to be among the first to get freeway-capable trips. This move allows faster and more efficient trips, for example, trips to the airport, cross-city commutes, and more, by routing via high-speed roads rather than only surface streets, which is what it would do previously. Waymo also expanded their service area in the Bay Area to include curbside service at San Jose Airport and the full Peninsula Corridor south of San Francisco. I think highway driving without a driver or a safety monitor is one of the biggest milestones we'll see here, so I'm curious to see this expand from Waymo, and then obviously curious to see when Tesla can get rid of those safety monitors. Over at VW, they're now making it possible for owners of the VW ID4 and ID Buzz in North America to access the Tesla Supercharger network. They're opening up this access to over 25,000 compatible DC fast charging stations, Tesla chargers, on November 18th. To enable this access, VW is offering NACS to CCS adapters for these vehicles, and then owners will need to use the Tesla app to locate and pay for sessions at the Supercharger. This is basically that same integration we've seen from many other automakers, but VW is the latest one here, and it's always great to see, because it truly makes driving an EV that much easier. Next up, over at Chevy, they have begun production of the next generation Chevy Bolt at their plant in Kansas City. Production started on November 10th. This is for the 2027 model year, even though first deliveries are expected in early 2026. And the key features for this updated Bolt are an estimated range of about 255 miles on a charge, and then a lithium iron phosphate LFP battery chemistry for cost and longevity benefits. One of the big improvements over the previous generation Bolt is that this supports DC fast charging up to 150 kilowatts, enabling 10 to 80% charging in about 26 minutes under ideal conditions. This is also equipped with an NACS plug, which means it immediately has access to Tesla Superchargers. The price here is the big thing as well. The launch version is pegged at under $30,000 in the US, for example, $29,990, including the destination fee for the base LT model. It will also be as low as $27,600 before those fees. Funny enough, one thing that this car is leaving off is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto support. GM is now ditching that at the same time that it seems like Tesla may be adding it in some way. This is big news because GM is re-entering the affordable EV segment after having halted production of the earlier Bolt and Bolt EUV back in 2023. This is also going to be the cheapest EV that you can get, so it delivers a lot for that price, and I'm excited to see it come to be, and then competitors have to compete in that space. Next up, over at HughesNet, they have disclosed in an SEC 10Q that they are referring their existing and new customers over to Starlink. This referral program is part of EchoStar's broader deal with SpaceX, where EchoStar is selling wireless spectrum assets over to SpaceX. HughesNet's consumer broadband business is shrinking overall, and this filing warns that HughesNet currently does not have the necessary cash on hand, projected future cash flows, or committed financing to fund our obligations over the next 12 months, raising substantial doubt about our ability to continue as a going concern. So it seems like we'll see them going away, but for Starlink, this referral deal could accelerate subscriber growth by gaining an influx of customers from HughesNet, which is a traditional geostationary satellite broadband provider. Now, speaking of another Elon Musk company over at The Boring Company, full self-driving is now operating in the Las Vegas Loop. This is a big milestone here because that was kind of one of the big draws of this technology. Yes, it would have cars driving through it, but you wouldn't have to have an operator. However, up until now, people have actually had to physically drive these cars through the Boring Company tunnel. Now, FSD is handling it, and they show a side-by-side of how much time it can actually save you. Last up today, some big news over at Apple. Tim Cook could step down as Apple's CEO as early as next year, according to a new report by Financial Times. The company's board is reportedly actively working on a succession plan here, and the leading candidate would be John Ternus, Apple's Senior Vice President of Hardware Engineering. Tim Cook recently turned 65 and has been CEO for 14 years and has overseen significant growth as well as some controversies at Apple. So part of this leadership shuffle is that the recent departure of COO, Jeff Williams, led to expanded roles for others like Eddie Q and Craig Federighi. Apple has a strong preference for promoting from within the company for a CEO, so it seems unlikely they'd go external here, and this candidate seems very likely. Of course, at this point, we don't have an official timeline, but that would be a pretty big shakeup to see in the near future here. At the same time, over at Apple, they're looking into the iPhone Air 2 and seem to be delaying the next version of this. Many thought it was because of underwhelming sales, but according to Mark Gurman, the real reason has to do with the technology. The focus for the iPhone Air 2 is reportedly shifting, with a major upgrade being a new chip that could offer significantly improved battery life. This report also says, quote, adding a second rear camera is technically possible, but I find that idea strange, due to the physical constraints in the existing design. The original aim for this phone was for modest market share, and Apple reportedly believed that the model would account for about 6 to 8% of new iPhone sales, similar to the performance of the iPhone 16 Plus. So for timing here, Apple plans to release 3 high-end models, the iPhone 18, iPhone 18 Pro Max, and then a new foldable in fall of 2026. Then 6 months after that, they'll roll out models like the iPhone 18, 18e, and possibly a refreshed iPhone Air. So we've gotten used to this yearly upgrade cycle for the iPhone, but then we see models like the E get various upgrades that are on a longer timeline there. It seems like they may be doing similar here with the iPhone Air and letting that kind of stand on its own and get upgraded at a different time than the yearly upgrade cycle. That's all the latest tech, EV, and Tesla news for today. So in the meantime, if you want to see all of the best accessories to get for your new Tesla Model Y or Model 3 with updated deals for Thanksgiving and Black Friday, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.